Okay, let's start. Let's start. Now, after we set up our own client to browse World Wide Web, then we have to find information out of it, look for it. And we have to turn to a particular server on the internet that will go around the world of World Wide Web, gather information over there, organize it a little bit so you can find something in there, and then you have an easier line on the World Wide Web. Now that is what we call a search engine. Search engine is a server, right? This server will send out some robot over the network, which we call it a webbot, W-E-B-O-T, webbot. That means this kind of robot you cannot see, you cannot touch, but it's operating over the network continuously, just like the blood we have in our bloodstream, like that. All right, and it will gather information of the whole body of World Wide Web, and then make a database of it. All right, that's what search engine server is doing. All right. When you first browse the internet, you're going to find yourself very hard to find what you want. If you have that feeling, that's normal. If you ask a kid to browse the internet, he more or less would be unable to find something that he wants. Even he has some idea about what to look for. Maybe the kid want to look for something about animation, about games, but he probably or she probably cannot type the words needed, or don't know the word need to be typed. Therefore, if we are able to see what the search engine server gathers so far, we may have some idea of what we look for later. Therefore, the first technique for people to search something on the internet is not by search engine for most of the time, but by directory instead. If you have experience using Yahoo actually organized in a lot of the directories. Directories are like yellow page. It gives you information about a particular category. I don't have an exact thinking in the mind of what I'm looking for, but today I want to watch something related to entertainment, for example. So I go to the entertainment section and see what's over there, and then suddenly I find an actress or actor I'm interested in, so I copy the name down and go to the search engine and search for his or her info, right? So the directory is something like that. It gives you an area of interest, which we call categories, because it's actually open up the search engine search result and categorizing them or grouping them. Categories is a big word. If you don't like that word, you say groups. That's the same thing, same meaning actually. All right. Okay. So if you have used Yahoo before, you definitely experienced all those directories before, and they are actually automated directories. That means the webbot sometimes called is a crawler because it's go everywhere, just like a spider. That's why sometimes it's called a spider, sometimes it's called a crawler, sometimes it's called a webbot. Whatever it's called is actually an automated piece of code going round and round, to and fro, very fast over the internet. That's what it's called. Normally, for a search engine server, crawler, webbot, or spider, it takes about 7 days that will go around the world of World Wide Web website and gather all this information and index, we call it index then, into a database and allow you to view. Now that kind of auto crawler directory provided by search engine like Google, Excite, what else? Google, Excite, yeah, and Yahoo, right, of course. They are automatically organized. So the links there normally is updated because they would check see whether the link's still there. Sometimes, a website exists in the web for a while and then it would be gone. And that's why it's also important that when we are making reference, no matter what style you're using, maybe you're using Harvard Business Style or APA, we normally need to say when you access this website, because the website you access today may be gone next week, right, or next month. Now, we also see that sometimes we see people organize websites, and you can also browse through them. All right, this is what we call human power directory. Nowadays, it exists in the form of what? Nowadays, it exists in the form of blog. Yeah, I see that someone still in the world will follow blog, right? Now, this kind of human power website have some particular importance to people also because they would offer some expert recommendation on a particular aspect in life. For example, I like cooking very much. Of course, I can go to the Yahoo cooking section and browse some website there, but they may not be the best website because the machine has nothing to do, I have no idea about what is meant by expert cooking. But if there is a person who writes some blogs about cooking, and he or she recommend a few websites for you to browse, that website may be really, really good and helpful in your own cooking. Maybe you're cooking Italian recipe, right? So human power websites are something like that. If some of the people with specialty, maybe they are chef, maybe they are very good at animal caring, maybe they are expert in raising cats, experts in raising dogs, they're expert in plants, for example, they may have some website recommending you. Now, because that kind of directory made by them human-driven, so there's a very high chance that some of the content there may sometimes be broken or not exist anymore, but still, some people go for them quite a lot and frequently because they are very good and they have some expert advice insight over there. Now, as said earlier, if we have absolutely no idea what we really exactly look for, we all normally start from directories. Once we have a concrete idea of what to look for, we'll then go for search engine. So search engine is actually a text box. Just like you go to the library, you have a very clear idea of what books you want. The name you knew already. You type the name of the book and then you submit. That's the search engine, right? This is actually to have the search terms ready, right? Don't think the term's always ready. Sometimes the term is not exist in your mind unless you get stimulated by some related area. And the search engine will do this, all right? The search engine operation, basically, the whole search engine working. Now, this page is about the whole search engine working. That includes subject directory. So, for computer, search engine and directory, they are the same thing, actually. No difference at all, right? It goes through these three stages. Stage number one is to find something over the internet. We call this crawling. So they may be called crawler, spider, bots, right? Something like that. And then they search over the new data continuously. Once they know something over there, they put it in their pocket and ship it back to their server. So they store and then like that. Once they stored it up, they would order it from small to big, maybe from A to Z, small to big, things like that. And that's indexing. So indexing is to give them an order so that later you can find something out there easier. For example, I have an order of all your name here from A to Z. So you come forward and tell me that your surname starts from K. Then I just go to the K section and then there maybe there are 300 students here even, but for a student with surname K, there may just be maybe 30 or 40. Then I just search that 40 people, and then I can respond whether that person exists in my class or not. and that's index. So index can speed up our searching from time to time because it orders something for us already. So with the keyword and the index, they match one another, and then the things can search out easily because it's ordered. Once it is indexed, that means it's ordered. So index is about order, right? It's about order. When there's order, they also can categorize and group. And then search is having this term here to match. So this space here we match. And then once matched, they take it out for you to see, right? And that's the whole working of search engine so far. And the subject directory that we always say is actually this part here. This part index is the subject directory. When we take that index out and let you see the inside, then you have the subject directory right away. Google is doing something like that. Yahoo is doing something like that. Excite doing something like that. Excite, I think, is the search engine over by Microsoft. Oh, it's not calling Excite anymore. It's an old name. The new name is Bing, B-I-N-G. I think it's Bing. Yeah, Bing. All right. Now we basically have a good idea about World Wide Web service. Except before, we have some other services. The oldest one is email, and then we have news group, discussion group, instant messaging, and telephony. All right. Now, you're going to find out email, news group, and even instant messaging now already been part of the World Wide Web, right? But must they be in World Wide Web format? That's not a must, actually. They have their own protocol. That means they have their own communication pathway, or you can say they have their own language of communication. So using their own communication language, they may sometimes be communicating faster than HTTP. Then you may wonder why people would still have to make all those services separately, but why they are now merged to World Wide Web. The reason is because the machine, as you can still remember in chapter 1, that the cost of the machine and the service of the machine, the software of the machines go down to such a point that we already found using computer is actually very low cost. So we don't bother to let all those things put there, and the time running them is actually getting up a lot faster than before. When we are still using copper wire to communicate, we really have to separate different services with different way to communicate, that means protocol, so that we can have service given to us with decent speed. Right now, it's different. Everything is so fast thanks to fiber optic. So all those services here we see right now become part of World Wide Web. Even World Wide Web is not the fastest because, as said earlier, fiber optic make it fast. Now, so email, news group, and discussion group, this is actually, we call asynchronous communication. Asynchronous. We call them asynchronous communication. This is H, sorry, H. Asynchronous. When we say asynchronous, that means it's not real time. You send me an email, I reply you. There's always a delay of at least at most 1 second. Okay? So I have to read your stuff and then reply you. It's not that both parties can get message all at the same time because we are known to one another. That's asynchronous. Now, a very classic example is if you have experience taking the minibus. Minibus, some of them have the walkie-talkie. When someone is talking, the other side cannot talk and just listen. That's asynchronous. Only when they put down the walkie-talkie, then they will be able to listen to the whole network of the other driver talking. That's asynchronous. Now, instant messaging telephony is asynchronous. And of course, the one that we use, this part is not very good. Maybe I have to rewrite a U here. Asynchronous. Synchronous means both parties of communication can give signal at the same time. Talking over the phone is example, using Microsoft is example. Even though we may not be able to listen well the other say, however, these synchronous communication help us a lot, right? In making the information flow faster, right? Email first. In the old days, email used a protocol called POP3 IMAP. That's the old way of email communication. POP3 STMP, or IMAP, right? STMP. This is the protocol in the old days, but we are not using it anymore. Now we use HTTP, okay? It's the most widely used internet service because this service is actually very old. So old that it's actually exists since 1960, all right? And therefore, these servers enjoy the highest legal status in all countries. In other words, if I write a contract using email to another person, that contract is like a paper. It's like a paper contract. It's at the same legal authority. Likewise, if I send you an email and intimidate you, I would also risk myself like I write a letter to intimidate someone else, right? So the same legal consequences of that wrongdoing as well. And that's why we put it at the first, right? It's the most basic communication we set up, and most society values it. Now we have two forms of email. As you know, we have the web-based and the client-based. And we normally use the web-based one because we move the things of email communication over there. If we use the web-based one, we do not store any data. We let the server store it, right? If we use the client-based, we may store them. And the client-based email normally would be using the POP3 and the STMP that I just showed you, all right? That's the client-based. People use client-based because they want to store email offline, right? That's one of the reasons why they choose client-based from time to time. If you don't have that particular needs, normally you don't bother install them, because installing some email program or apps onto your mobile phone or computer, it would also take you time to manage it. Sometimes you have to upgrade it, right? Just like iOS here, I just upgrade to 15, right? From time to time, you have to upgrade it. And that's actually quite a nuisance at times. 好麻煩呢, quite a nuisance. Now, whether you're using that email as a client or as a web, you're going to find no difference between them because they would have folder, address book, spell check, delivery, notification. This is all default right now, whether you're using it web or you're using it in the client base. But organization normally would like these email to be in client base because they can have more monitoring over the employees. So if you are running an organization, that means you're doing business, you like your communication in your company much more controllable, then you choose client base for your staff, even though they can use the web base, right? There's another issue of management, right? For better control of the email communication, especially email communications carry such a high legal status in most society or countries in the world right now. Now, apart from email, the other things that people normally do online is to share what they know. And that's why we have the idea of news group. And most of the time in the old days, they use the protocol of RSS. RSS is actually a protocol. You're going to see that RSS once again when we go to the end of this chapter. So RSS is normally the protocol used by news group and discussion groups. In the old days, we have to use a browser of news group to see the news. Right now, nobody bothered using it because we are using the HTTP to see the discuss forum, right? So, what's the real difference between discussion group and news group? Traditionally, people, when they have a specific topic to talk about, for example, I want to know something about how to plant a particular, maybe I just bought a cactus from a special plant with a lot of thorns, right? From the flower market, I don't know how to raise it, so I may go to the discussion group and see how people raise it, or bamboo leaves, things like that. So this is for special knowledge, we call it something like that. Then we turn to discussion group. And if I want to gossip any topic, then I'll go for news group. We call it general, but this is not the case anymore when these two discussing put on what? Put on the World Wide Web interface. All right? So this is a traditional way we divide this group, discussion group and news group. Some of the news group today still follow this rule. Many of them actually already break away from that. And then here comes this one the same as email. You post something, and the other would have to look at that and then respond. It will have some delay, and that's why this is asynchronous communication. All right, that's why it's asynchronous. But then we have some things we call it synchronous, instant messaging, or internet telephony, is something like that we see later. Instant messaging has its own protocol as well. It's actually IMS. IMS is a very old protocol for real-time communication, but again, very few people use it now. Actually, WhatsApp and Signal and Telegram use some of them still, all right? Just that we didn't notice that, all right? Instant messaging is for two people give message on an information out at the same time. This gives you a real time, right? We call it a real time. Hang on. A real time feeling. 呢啲同在感啊，一齊做啊。Real time feeling. What's most important over this kind of real time communication is, apart from using text doing that, they get video, audio into it. Right? They get video, audio into it. Originally, people used all those things there for online games. That was about 12 years ago. If I'm not wrong, 12 years? No, 15 years actually. 15 years ago, there will be someone go to some room and play the online game. But now it's disappeared because everyone play games in their home or over their mobile phone. Right. And this kind of instant messaging provided with a chat room service. Right. So they have some privacy built in there. Right. This is the characteristic of instant messaging. Traditional instant messaging is, of course, Windows Messenger, Yahoo Messenger, QQ, ICQ, if you still use it, right? Very few people use ICQ now. Things like that. And Snapchat is another instant messaging that we see much more often in the world, but some people would use WhatsApp or Signal to replace it. They're doing the same thing. And modern instant messaging device would expand the communication method from pure text into video, you see, and pictures as well, so they use a lot of them. And they also has a function of stop people tracing them, especially in Telegram and Signal as well, is to have self-destroy function. I send you something, you read it, and it will destroy right away. Telegram is especially strong in it, and that's why it's so famous, right? People in Russia like to use it a lot because Russia used to be a country like to monitor its citizen. So this country has a lot of people use Telegram. And what else? And we also see that instant messaging is built into social network website, and that's why Instagram and Facebook also have some IM function now built in there. So gradually you see the trend that for instant messaging, fewer and fewer people install them specifically, right? So getting a Signal or WhatsApp or Telegram installed onto the mobile phone may be the last time we use it. The next generation of the mobile phone usage for instant messaging would be you don't really need to install it. Actually, you use the web to do it, or the browser to do it, right? And this one is the latest because it's an attempt to get rid of telephone company in the world. Now, telephone company is a very ancient company. It's a very actually old company, old type of company in the world. It monopolized human communication. But with more and more that we depend on computer, we basically can replace, take out all those big telephone house. This is the attempt of internet telephony. Its attempt is to allow people around the globe to talk over the phone without paying the overseas fee. That's the aim, actually. So they invent a protocol called VoIP. Now, this is really the protocol still used and heavily used. All right, VoIP. We also have it here. Voice over Internet Protocol. Its aim is nothing but to replace phone line, all right? So that all spoken conversation now be able to talk online. And this internet telephony is also merging with the IM that we just mentioned. And that's why when you take a look at your signal, when you take a look at your WhatsApp, you see they also have the phone function, yeah, telephone function. That part is not actually WhatsApp property or signal property. That part is actually VoIP specifically, all right? So specifically, they are high speed, right? Because they make use of the network. So even though for some places there is no communication radio wave, as long as there is computer network, you still be able to talk to people without any problem, all right? And international or local call will be the same thing, because over the internet, they are basically no different things. Especially if you let communication data transfer over the fiber optics, right? And also, it's low cost, as said before. However, something is certain that the core quality of VoIP is still very bad for the time being, because it has to get the voice from one end to another end efficiently, that means fast. They will sacrifice the quality a little bit. But as times go by that we improve the compression technique, this VoIP will become the mainstream and it would have a better quality. That's so far we can know. So quality, core quality, is still a concern because it's still, as compared with the traditional line phone, is a little worse as compared with them. But I'm telling you that it's catching up, right? So I say the quality, right? The quality is not very good, but it has a lot of good things. Is you can use voicemail, right? Voicemail is easy. It's rather low cost or even no price, cheap, right? In other words, and you can always call people 24 hours, right? That's why you see here, absence of busy lines, because you can always reach someone. If they are not able to reach it, take up the phone, that's another matter, but there's no chance that you can't call someone as long as the phone is valid, okay? That's also meaning that. And anywhere in the world communicatable, right? Direct call, right, is possible. So this is very attractive. It's also very promising. The first generation of telephony, I think most of you heard of it before. It's called Skype. Have you used it before? Skype is the first generation. Still in the city, we see some of the equipment produced by Skype for people to talk over internet telephony. Now, however, no longer that you need to buy Skype product because your WhatsApp, your Signal have it, right? But still, if you want, you can buy some product from Skype. They are using VoIP specifically, right? So that's another option. We see some people in the world, they still want to have a specific device, and that's why there's a market to serve those kind of people, which are rather troublesome. Just like for YouTube, we all know that we can watch YouTube on the computer, but still there will be someone that would like to include all the service in a box and put it on the TV, and then they watch it like that, and then they will think that they are watching TV. You see what I mean? 即係要整個 box 嚟到睇 YouTube 嘅，有啲人係咁㗎嘛。Because they used to the traditional way, and that's why they have the market selling to those kind of people, right? And later in marketing, you're gonna know that they are the laggard. That means they respond to the market slower to product, and so we have to do some adaptation to them actually. That's basically all we have to talk so far today, and I'll stop here. And before I end this class today, I want to take a little bit more time to talk about the project as well, right? The project. I think some people still don't know or still haven't grouped yet. I don't see all people grouped yet. I'm supposed to have about 15 groups, but still maybe only 8 or 10 groups showed up. Now remember, we have to work on a group project, okay? And a group project is about technology you have to investigate. For the time being, you do not know your topic yet unless you submit to me your group first. It doesn't matter where your group is from which tutorial, as long as it's from the same lecture class. Remember, that would be okay. A lot of people email me, I suppose most of them didn't read, and that's why I really have to remind you. We have a form called member list form, and it's sitting in the centralized Moodle. Once you have a group of 5 or 6 members, you should get yourself a group leader. Who can be a group leader? Anyone in your group able to get online smoothly can be a group leader. Okay? So make one there. And then make that group leader to send out the group member form. Complete it there to me. Alright, by this time on Saturday. Also, you have to specify what topic to choose from. We have 3 topics here. Blockchain technology. Blockchain technology is for verification. Alright? So to identify something real in the world, we thought of a technology called blockchain to do it. And that's why we have something called the Bitcoin, right? That's for money. We also make use of it to identify people. And that's blockchain. If you have interest in that, you think about it. Augmented reality, if you have experience playing Pokemon Go, you knew it. But it's not only used in Pokemon Go that augmented reality is there. It's also used for some company, all right? They let you to experience an environment, maybe in a tourist website. They use augmented reality too. So it's used in hotel and travel industry. Utility computing. Utility computing is the service that's available online, allowing you to build a business pretty quick. One of the quick, very famous use of utility computing is the Amazon Web Service provided to you. If you want to set up a business, you have an idea, it's going to be okay. And Amazon will provide you with the website building tools, database, front-end tools. So you just have to kind of click a several button, and you can make a complicated website right away. No need to worry about the technical detail. That's utility computing. So it's actually very well known and well established. And then the details about the work is already something that we talk about in the lab. So I don't repeat that. Remember, we follow that. And later we talk about PowerPoint. Yeah. And by the end of the report, we also have another report form to fill in, and that would be to see who is the free rider. Don't be a free rider, okay? Otherwise, you'll be point out here, and then you suffer quite considerably in your mark. And pay attention to the report document requirement, because we already mentioned that last time in the tutorial. And also we have to be punctual, and we use Turnitin this time. So whatever you write, you have to make sure the percentage of similarity is 20% or less. Otherwise, you lose some mark over there. We will not ask you to redo, but we will have some mark deduction over there, because this time we also upload with this plugin, Turnitin. All right. I think that's basically it, and we'll stop here. And thanks for coming.